Right, is that it?
We're done.
Shoot, anybody got questions?
here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just making sure I'm all right to sit right there.
Yeah.
So identify yourselves first. You're doing it on behalf of?
Oh, no,
We're
I was
Variety
just
Radio
We're Variety
Online.
Yeah, you
Radio
guys ask
Online.
first.
The three of us.
Sorry?
Variety Radio Online.
Right.
It's a fan-based radio station.
Right.
For the fans.
Right.
We're located on the internet.
Okay.
Who else?
I'm with the Girls Who Waited, the Geek Girl YouTube show about Doctor Who and more, and we've
Oh, yeah.
actually interviewed you before,
Yeah,
but we
I remember
wanted
now.
to interview you again.
Then you shall. Hi.
I'm from iForYou.com. It's just a geek magazine, but I do all the Doctor Who stuff
Okay.
because I'm a Whovian.
Hi there.
Sorry for being late.
No, you're not. I'm early.
We're introducing ourselves to you.
Oh, cool. I met you last year at Timegate. My name's Mike Faber. I'm with the ESO Network. And
Right.
We also interviewed you for the Doctor Who Podcast Network.
Okay. We're doing good.
So are we ready for questions?
I am.
Okay. Well, how are you enjoying DragonCon so far?
Very well. It's confusing. It's mammoth. It's exhausting. But I'm having a good time. People are being very pleasant. And that's what it's about. It's about people. I'm very impressed with the organisation. For a con of this size, I have been to other, not quite as big, I've been to some bigger. In terms of numbers, I was at San Diego Comic-Con, which I think is bigger. But the idea of actually planning and executing the kind of schedule that they have to do with so many guests and making it work, I think it would defeat me. So I'm impressed with, there's nothing, as far as I'm concerned, that's gone wrong at all.
That's great. Did any costumes jump out at you?
Well, it's hard, it's people without costumes, you notice. Everyone's got a costume on.
They do.
I've met at least half a dozen in my costume, which is quite a difficult one to reproduce. So yeah, it's, and the joy of this convention too, because sometimes I go to Doctor Who conventions where everybody knows who I am, and you can't go anywhere without, at any speed, because everyone wants to talk to you. Here, there are thousands of people who haven't got a clue who I am, and I rather like that, because it means I can travel around somewhat swifter.
Have you been partaking in any of the other activities here, like going to other panels or even just mingled with...
Panels I've been doing just now.
No, other than your own.
I haven't got time. The schedule does not allow me to do anything other than what is scheduled for me.
Wow.
In fact, I think I get 30 minutes for lunch today, something like that.
Have you been able to experience any, like walk around at night or something to
No.
see people dressed up? And
Because at night, at the end of the day, yeah, there is one thing that is foremost in my mind, and that is horizontal.
Same
And
here.
very, very comfortable, with lots of lovely pillows. And that's what gets my attention. Lovely though it is for all of you, for I am something like 96 now, I can't remember how old I am. The idea of walking around the town late at night doesn't appeal. And also, yesterday was Saturday, and the football's on television.
Gotcha.
British football,
Gotcha.
which consumed my attention last night.
Who do you follow British football-wise?
I follow my local team, Wycombe Wanderers, which is in the bottom division. And I follow Manchester United, who are in dire trouble at the moment. Spent a lot of money, and still can't produce the goods. But there you are. That's life.
That is awesome. I've heard rumor about a sequel to the Five-ish Doctor.
Never believe rumours.
Okay.
I think Paul McGann has started all that off.
Yes.
It's because he realised that he didn't do much in the last one, so he wants to be able to get to do more. It's because he wasn't telling us at the time that he'd had his little special
Right.
done. So he was being a bit elusive, and we found out, has anyone got any water?
Yes, we do.
That'd be great. So he's now going around saying, oh, we're doing another one. Peter and I have talked about it, and Sylvester, but there is no point in doing another one unless it's as good or better, preferably, than the first one. A pale imitation of Five-ish Doctors wouldn't work. And that particular novelty is gone now. We've let that cat out the bag. So it would have to be something as attention-grabbing for us to do it. The spirit is willing,
Right.
but quite what we come up with, I don't know.
The first one was wonderful, and it took everybody by surprise. Also.
That was the plan. And of course the second one wouldn't, because you'd have expectations.
How are they going to top it? and
Yeah.
everything?
I mean, it's very seldom that the second of a trilogy or whatever, I suppose Godfather 2 was excellent. Actually, Terminator 2 was better than the first, wasn't it?
Yes.
If you think about it. But it's got to be better for the Five-ish Doctors franchise to work. Think of it as a franchise, I like that.
One of the things in the 50th anniversary special that Tom Baker, when he was on, hinted at that he would be that the Doctor might be seeing familiar faces soon and such, like older versions of other Doctors and stuff. Have they approached you at all about doing something like that?
No, not at all. And the likelihood of that happening is minimal, I would say.
It would be great to have you back.
Look, I mean, you
But look,
you can get away with saying, what was the character he played?
He was the curator of
Yeah,
the museum.
this is the curator. But we know he's not the curator. He is the fourth Doctor, 30 years older. And it's just too difficult to make it credible. When in the build-up to the 50th anniversary, I was the one who was saying, I don't think it would work. To get a story with all the Doctors in, although Big Finish managed a very good one. The light at the end I thought was fantastic. But to get a story on television for the mainstream audience, so not all the people who watch Doctor Who are people who go to conventions. They're people who watch that programme and a lot of other programmes and aren't fans, they're just watching the programme. They would be totally perplexed, especially the younger generation, by all these doddering old people who look nothing like what they used to look like, wandering in for no real purpose other than satisfying the fans. So I never expected it to happen. I just didn't think it was. I thought what you would have to do to make it work would ruin the opportunity for a really good story.
Gotcha.
So I was quite surprised to see Tom in it. And I suppose that was a kind of nod to the fact that he's now 80 and he's the oldest surviving Doctor. And it's quite nice for the fans to see him again. But whether it fitted easily into the format of the programme being made, I'm not sure.
Sure. Makes total sense. What is next with you with Big Finish then?
I've just done one. I'm doing a couple more when I come back. I kind of forget them. It's awful. I was interviewed by somebody on behalf of Big Finish, excuse me, about one I did 3 weeks ago. I said, you'll have to send me a synopsis because I've forgotten the story. I do so many
Sure.
that, and it takes 2 days to do a 2-hour story. And then you might do another one 2 days later. And you have a good time when you're doing it, and you move on and do something else. And to be honest, I forget. So the other thing I don't know is when they're released.
Right.
So I don't know what you've seen and what you haven't.
Gotcha. No.
So I better be quiet, because there are things they like to announce in their own time.
Excellent. What are the projects you're working on right now?
I am conventioning. So this year has been my year of conventions. Because I've been working a lot in theatre for the last 10, 20 years, I've had to turn down so many invitations to come over here that this year I took the decision to come. I'm going straight from here to Salt Lake City, and I'm doing one there. The weekend afterwards, I'm doing one in England, in Plymouth. The weekend after that, I'm going somewhere in America, and I'm afraid I'm losing track of, without my diary here, what is when. But I know I'm going to Rhode Island, Long Island. Where else am I going? I've got one in Rose City, Texas. Next year I've got about 5 or 6 booked, January, February, March already. So while people are still prepared to tolerate my presence, I'm going to the conventions. And I bet I've seen more of America than most Americans have.
Probably.
Probably so.
Yeah.
I worked out back in the 80s that I'd been to at least half of the states in America.
What is it, what are some of the things that you really love about the fans? Because the Dr. Who fans is just so big. So what are some of the things you love about the fans?
I hate them for that.
Oh, man!
Of course I love the fans. Could I have another one of these?
Yes.
The fans, well, they're so generous. I mean, what other job can you think of where, how long is it now? It's 30 years since I played the Doctor. Okay, so imagine you're a carpenter and you've put in a cupboard for somebody. And 30 years later, they come up in the street to you and say, "You're the guy who put my cupboard in 30 years ago? Oh, wow. Oh, can I have your autograph, please?" The carpenter will be chuffed, pleased. Well, for some reason, actors get this all the time. People want to say they enjoyed the work they've done. And you'd have to be a moron to not think that's great. There are times, for instance, when you're in the men's room and someone's in the next stall and says, "Can I have your autograph, please?" I say, "Well, not quite at the moment. I've got something else in my hand." There are moments like that when fans can be a little over-exuberant, or in restaurants when you're there with your family and somebody puts a piece of paper on top of your plate of food and the gravy running over it. "Can you sign this, please?" But in the main, fans are brilliant. They're very honest, to a fault sometimes. I mean, I have had, like Sylvester always says, somebody once came up to him and said, "You're my 5th favourite Doctor." I had somebody yesterday came up to me and said, "I have to say you're my least favourite Doctor."
Really?
Yeah, but he said all the Doctors are wonderful, so that's not a bad thing. Okay. It's like saying to a girl, "You're my least favourite girlfriend," but all my girlfriends are wonderful. Come on. But that makes me laugh, because that comes from someone who's, shall we say, disingenuous. There's no malice meant by it. It's just downright lack of common sense. So I do find it amusing. It's only very rarely that fans are other than encouraging and lovely. And if it wasn't for you fans, I wouldn't have been to Atlanta twice in the last 3 years. And it's a lovely city.
And thank you for coming.
It's my great pleasure. The one problem I have is remembering names. I can't remember names of my family sometimes. I address my daughters, I've got 4 daughters, that I speak to them on the phone, and they sound the same, I always get it wrong. And I can never remember anybody's name. I once had 2 couples arrive at my front door at the same time, coming around for dinner. They didn't know each other, but I knew them very well. I'd known them separately for 20 years. And I couldn't think of a single name to introduce them to each other because of that awful moment of, "I've got to introduce them." So I'm terrible on names. And sometimes fans will come up and say, "Do you remember me? We met in Tallahassee in 1987 and you signed my book." "No, I don't. I'm sorry." I've started to lie now. I go, "Yes!" But that's not right either. I shouldn't do that. I mean, there is a kind of protocol, isn't there? There's a protocol about being a doctor. Are you honest or do you fudge the issue? There's bound to be somebody in here I've met before. You. Do you forgive me if I
don't.
and you've even got a really nice beard too.
I saw your picture.
It's the best kind, isn't it?
Yes.
Does it work, do you think?
Yes, very much so.
Because my wife likes it, and I want to get rid of it because it itches. And
I'm the same way. My wife wants me to keep mine too.
really,
My husband has one now and I love it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it.
what is it you like about it?
I think it makes him look younger and sexier.
Looking younger works, yeah. It does. My wife says it hides your double chin.
My wife said the same thing. So it's,
It's because they're embarrassed about seeing with these old wobbly men. They want us to look young and virile.
it looks good on you then. It really
Hey,
does.
baby, smooth talking boy.
Speaking of Doctor Who, though, have you had a chance to see Peter as the Doctor yet?
Davis?
Capaldi.
Oh, sorry. I saw the first episode. I thought it was fantastic. I really thought it was fantastic. He was doing all the stuff that I was trying to do back in the 80s. But different. But he's a brilliant actor. I knew he was going to be good. And he's been given, well, I've only seen the first story. He's been given a great script. And he's got a great companion. I thought that scene between the two of them in the restaurant with those mechanical figures, that's good old Moffat being spooky again.
Mm-hmm.
He does that brilliantly.
Now he has me scared of going to a restaurant.
Yeah, it's, you know, like everyone was saying, "Are you my mummy?" after his first story, which was glorious, I thought. So he really knows how to get kids back where they belong, behind the sofa. Scare them so they go to bed and have nightmares. That's what Doctor Who should do. So I've seen him, yeah. Loved it.
It was fun, and he brings. If to me, it felt very old series, like your era of the Doctor, and also the Sylvester's era, because it felt more of a serious Doctor, a Doctor who wasn't the young, flamboyant type of person. This is like the Doctor who's going to take care of.
You missed a Doctor out there.
Pardon me?
You said it was more like.
He was more of a darker Doctor.
Yeah.
A Doctor who.
Like Sylvester.
Yeah. But
Anybody
also
else? Come on.
Yeah.
Let me pull it out of you.
Colin?
Yeah.
Very much so. And
Because that's what when they asked me what I wanted to play, that's what I described.
oh, very much so.
Somebody you don't know what they're thinking, why they're thinking it, or what they're doing, but you know it's going to be for a good reason.
If your Doctor and his actually feel the most alien a lot of times.
That's the other thing I wanted. I wanted my Doctor to be seen as an alien,
Yeah.
not as a human being.
No. That he's more evolved, or however,
Yeah.
he doesn't have the same virtues and such that humanity does.
And he's not going to go getting romantically inclined towards his companion either. Thank goodness. Got rid of that at last.
Hallelujah. He wasn't the boyfriend, that Matt Smith and David Tennant were. Not that
They did it fine, but I just didn't like it.
No,
As a concept, it's not their fault.
no, very much so.
Have you been enjoying DragonCon and seeing all the different costumes and so forth?
Yeah, well, I mean, I go to a lot of conventions, and there are a lot of costumes. Every now and then, there's one that leaps out. There was one I saw yesterday, a girl, I think it was a girl, yes, it was a girl, because when she did speak through her, she had a rabbit head on. It looked like, it was brilliant. I thought it had been professionally made, she made it herself. She looked like a big rabbit. I thought that. Now, I took a photograph of that one, but there's some that I find disturbing. People who walk around looking as if they've been hacked to pieces by several axe-wielding maniacs.
There was one costume I saw yesterday. It looked like a younger version of you, but it was wearing a blue outfit.
That is one of the outfits on the audio.
Right.
I wear blue on audio now.
Okay.
And somebody did an art, a painting of me,
Right.
in the black costume I really wanted, and it does look good.
What was the black costume?
That's what I described when I was asked what I wanted to wear.
That was more of, you said it was more like Christopher Eccleston's
Yeah.
outfit.
That's what I wanted to wear. I said, what I described, long black coat,
Right.
dark. You know?
And they went the complete opposite.
Yeah. But it was the 1980s. Glam rock and all that. So I'm the glam rock Doctor, sadly.
I have a question. You
Hooray!
were talking about the Five-ish Doctors and the 50th anniversary, where they show you guys with the tarps over you. Was it actually you in the episode?
That was us in there, yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they just filmed that for the Five-ish Doctors and did it separately for the 50th, or was it actually you guys?
That would be wrong, wouldn't it? To do
That would be, and I was
It would
so
be
excited
wrong.
because I watched it right before the 50th, and I was like,
Watch- look at them both.
all the doctors are in here. This is awesome.
Yes.
What is it about removing the romantic aspect that appeals to you, between the doctors and the...
I was brought up with no hanky-panky in the TARDIS. That's what it's about. The Doctor, he's an alien. What's an alien doing having carnal relationships with young ladies from Earth? Go back to Gallifrey and find a girlfriend. I think it's like, it's no different from seeking out a dog for a relationship. You human beings are way below us in evolution. To have a romantic relationship with a mere earthling is beneath the Doctor, I think. He's going native. That's a bad thing. Go back to Gallifrey. Find someone of your own kind. Don't you agree?
Very much so.
You just want to live out your fantasies, don't you, with Billy Piper or Nicola Bryant, you know. I think they should be inaccessible.
It almost felt in a lot of ways to me, having the Doctor have any romantic feelings towards his companions, almost taboo in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And everything. It was just because I grew up on your series. You were one of my first Doctors, and in a lot of ways, you set the tone that you were strictly business. That you know, this is what you were on this planet. You weren't there to have flirting with Nicola or with your other companions.
Yeah, and there was a fondness.
Yes.
And a protection, like a father or an uncle.
Well, I loved it, like with Sylvester.
The age difference for a start as well.
With Sylvester's Doctor, it felt like almost more like a professor, like Ace called
And
him.
a student.
And a student.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. I felt like the companionship should be.
Yeah.
And such. Like.
And also it precludes the fantasies of the viewers as well. All those people who feel whatever they feel for either the Doctor, well, usually David Tennant if you're a girl, or the companions.
Sure.
Nicola Bryant has a large following. If the Doctor's, you know, in your way between your romantic fantasy and the girl of your dreams as a young male viewer of the programme, then that doesn't help, I don't think.
Well, they should want to go on adventures with him, not date him.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Exactly. Learn how to.
Do you
run.
disagree? The gentleman who asked the question at the back.
No, I don't. I mean, I think that there's, both can kind of work in their own way, to tell you the truth.
And also, especially in, I don't know if it's like here, but it's considered a family show in the UK. And it's less, because it's about a time-travelling alien, it's less, I think, a good fit for a family programme than it would be if it was being shown at 9 o'clock at night.
Agreed.
I think it kind of worked with Eccleston because he felt lost, but it felt like he was looking for a more, but I didn't want it to be a deep romance. I wanted it to be almost like a recalling of maybe being human because he felt so out of place, but I didn't want him to have a full romance. And I didn't like it when Tennant and Rose did that.
Nah.
I only like Tennant when he's playing with
Donna.
Donna. Yeah, I was gonna say Catherine Tate. I really like there because they play off each other and they take that element out and it becomes more of a friendship. and I like that. I like that connection, but it doesn't have to be. As a woman, I didn't want to see that. That it didn't appeal to me.
And the
when I was
relationship is
directed
about the situation they're in rather than the emotions they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in storytelling terms, the situation, the script, the story is important.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. The Doctor Who to me, and it's about the adventure of who they're saving and what they're conquering and what they're out there
Yeah.
doing. But that's, every episode's a new episode about what they're going to go do. So
You
we
know,
don't have time for romance. Go save the world.
I almost
Yeah.
liked it more with Doctor Who, where they had one, like with yours, like the 4-part stories or 3-part stories, but it didn't have the overall story arc throughout the whole season type thing.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
it almost it's almost getting too complicated for some people.
yeah, all that timey-wimey thing they talk about.
Yes.
I like that. But then, as a viewer, I like complicated programmes. Twin Peaks I adored.
Of course.
What's going on? Who the hell knows? But it's good. I just loved it. And I like stuff that, at the end of it, it's hard to explain what's happened. For me, that's... Because in life, you get little fragments of other people's lives, and you don't get to tie it all up. There's this obsession sometimes with tying everything up with a neat bow. It's being resisted more and more.
Right.
There's more films that come out of now they're left open-ended, and
Well, it makes you think and put in your own ending in a lot of ways
Yeah.
and everything. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, in life, sometimes there's not a stop button or anything.
yeah.
What kind of other TV shows or movies are you watching currently?
Well, I'm halfway through and absolutely adoring Breaking Bad. I started it much later than everybody else, so I'm halfway through series 3, and I'm desperate to avoid spoilers. I'm watching it with my daughter, and she's away working sometimes than I am, so it's a very slow progress. We'll get 3 or 4 episodes over a couple of days, and then it'll be 2 or 3 weeks before we get the next one. But I really want to meet who's sitting down the road from me in the Hall of Fame.
Giancarlo.
Esposito.
Giancarlo
Esposito, who I thought is
Amazing.
wonderful in it. It's such a wonderful performance. But it's just groundbreaking television for me. It's who'd have thought you'd be on the side of a guy who's making crystal meth and killing
Exactly.
people.
I'm actually feeling sorry for him sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just, and there's some wonderful performances. He and the young guy, I just think
Oh, Jesse.
Jesse, magic. What else do I like? There's a lot of American stuff. There was a time when American television, is it back in the 80s and the 90s? I'm losing track. It wasn't, it was okay, but now it's great. It's really great. You're doing some great stuff. That's one. What else? I enjoyed Heroes, if we're talking about genre stuff.
Sure.
And I know some people thought it went off the rails, but I loved it all the way. I surrender quite easily to, if I like a concept, I just willingly surrender to the programme. I'm not a great one for analysing or talking about it. I just enjoyed finding out what happened next. And I still want to know what happened next with them. I enjoyed those characters.
In 2015, they're going to have a redo of some of the newer characters from Heroes. They're going to have a 10-part mini-series on NBC.
Oh, really?
They're working on it.
The newer characters?
Yeah, because they couldn't get some of them back, like Zachary Quinto's obviously
Oh,
off,
he's-
and Ali
yeah.
Larder's doing I don't know, whatever on TNT. And so some of them are busy. And so they kind of are introducing new characters, but they're bringing back Jack Coleman. He's coming, the guy
Oh,
with the
yeah,
glasses,
yeah.
he's coming back.
Yeah.
So they're bringing some of them back to kind of introduce, but they're also showing what happened to the other side of what was going on. And they've been working on that, and he
Oh, I
said
look
it should
forward to
come back
that.
next year. Yeah, they started doing all the casting and stuff now.
And I enjoyed Once Upon a Time, which I'm about 2 series behind on now,
Me too.
sadly. And there comes a point when you're watching something, if I'm working or going away, and I hate coming in the middle of anything, which is why I had to wait till I got Breaking Bad on a box set and start on it. And I did not expect it to be as good as it is. Everyone said how great it was. But when someone says to you, that's a really great, you think, is it going to be? Yeah, so often you've been disappointed, but this one exceeds everything. It's groundbreaking television, I think. Can someone replenish me?
Yes. Did you catch the new Intruders on BBC yet?
No.
Okay.
Intruders.
Intruders is a new show.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows.
Got it.
Walking down the Hall of Fame, there's banners up there for people who are in this, and I've never heard of the series. So presumably because they're not aired in the UK.
It's a BBC. It's a BBC show.
Is it?
It is.
BBC
Yes.
America.
Is it BBC
I think
America?
it's like with Orphan Black. I think it's with BBC America.
Oh,
Oh,
It's BBC America.
I didn't know they made shows just for America.
thank you.
Thank you.
I knew it was BBC.
Yeah. But
Sir.
it should be airing in the UK. They said that. They said when it came out they were going to start airing it in the UK. It's probably just doing the flip of what we do. They'll probably get the episodes later, like how we used to flip it.
Okay.
A lot of fans from Doctor Who community are prominent scientists. People like Michio Kaku, Richard Dawkins. I mean, I've heard several very influential scientists just talk about their love of Doctor Who, and I was wondering kind of how you feel about affecting that community and if you've had any interactions with these people.
Yeah, well, I saw Richard Dawkins last weekend because he's married to Lalla Ward,
Yeah.
who was Romana in Doctor Who. So she was doing a fundraiser for Denville Hall, which is a home for retired actors, and she's the chairman of Denville Hall. So she brought poor Richard along to introduce him to the fans. And he's super brain, he's lovely, he's brilliant. I love it when scientists enjoy it. I had a tour around NASA when I was in Houston a couple of months ago, to convention there, and they had an astronaut called Steve Minke, who's got the record for the longest time in space by an American astronaut. He's been on the space station for the best part of a year, off and on. And he, bless him, he wanted his photograph with me. I did find that odd that a guy who's actually done all that cares about a TV programme. And I did a signing in England a few years ago, and they got some Russian astronauts over. And the Russian astronauts had heard of Doctor Who and wanted their picture with Doctor Who. They didn't speak a word of English. I find that quite humbling. There's a bit of I am not worthy going on there. But I guess, you want escape. Everyone, that's the whole purpose of literature, is escape from whatever real world you're in into somebody's idea of a different world. I suppose there are some people who want only to read stories about real things, but if it's really real, it's boring, because you've experienced it yourself. And I mean, Asimov is the example, because he was a scientist, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he wrote, interestingly, some of the best science fiction. And his predictions are the ones, the laws of robotics and things like that, are the ones that have proved the test of time. Whereas some other science fiction writers' predictions are somewhat flakier. And if you look at any program made in any era about what the future is going to be like, none of them have got it really right. I love watching sci-fi stuff that was made in the 60s and 70s, where they're talking on communication devices, which are modelled basically on the half-brick phone we used to have. The idea, I mean, we're there now, we just have you see people walking down the street talking because they've got an earpiece in and their phone. Nobody predicted that. You seemingly have nothing. So the future is a wonderful, great, mysterious place. But scientists are interested in possibilities. They're always looking for new and interesting, challenging possibilities. And for them, I suppose, sci-fi throws up ideas that I have no evidence of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if some scientists have started on a series of investigations based on a possibility suggested in science fiction.
Well, there's actually a short doc, I believe it was on the Learning Channel, but it's an American station, and it featured Michio Kaku and some other physicists, and it's called The Science of Doctor Who. And they take different, aspects like, the TARDIS, and just they kind of try and find ways in which the things could work. So I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yeah, I've heard of there's been various publications along those lines.
Yeah, well, this is a documentary.
And the other one is Beam Me Up, Scotty, which is theoretically possible. I don't know if you're aware of entanglement, tangled photons. Anybody here know about them? It's basically, I don't know the correct names for the bits, but bits of something very small. If you separate them, they retain the characteristics of each other. So you separate these photons, take one 1,000,000 light years away, and this one here, and if this one changes, that one changes too. That is fact. Nobody knows how it works. And the idea is you pair your molecule with one of those molecules here, and it appears there. At the moment, it would take more energy to do. You have to break down the human body to do it, but it would take more energy than exists in our solar system to do it to one human being. But the theory is there. You could attach molecules to protons that, if the if the mirror proton was elsewhere in the universe, would take on that characteristic. That's science fact. Brilliant, isn't it? I've explained it very badly. Is that it? Are we
I
done?
think I don't have any more.
Any more questions?
I think we don't have any more.
I'm free.
Good.
I'm free.
You're free.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.